Yeah, yeah, and then my computer breaks. Yeah, there's like some technic goddess that
I
was
know
just having fun with me.
the gods of technology have not been in our favor. Okay,
Mm-mm.
so I'm just going to kind of start at the top of your email. That
Mm-hmm.
you've been hard at work with basic lunging, where she just gets to walk at her own pace. You've done it about 10 times, and Sadie's motivation to keep walking doesn't seem to increase. So in the first video, she's pretty distracted by noises outside the round pen, so I interrupt the session. We had been going about 15 minutes by doing the mental focus in motion. Afterwards, I turn her to the right pretty quickly because we had been going left for a while. Okay. And then you said the vet was coming too. It's been a month. Because what you're concerned about is you're worried
Right.
that
So,
she doesn't seem to find any joy in moving. The vet will check her out on Tuesday. It's been a month since she's been back from rehab.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So the vet was here today. Um, are you still there?
Yep. Sorry, I just shared
Oh,
this
there you
screen
are.
again.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to disappear into the little boxes.
Okay. Yeah, so it's this exercise. I don't know if it's called the basic lunging, but the one where she gets to just walk at her own pace. I don't do anything but stand there and ask her to walk, and if she stops, like we talked about last time,
Mm-hmm.
give it a count to three or something, and then ask her to continue. Well, I tell you, Kirsten, she can outlast me. I mean, I have done that like an hour or so, and it's like, I mean, her response to me seems to be like, this is nice.
Yeah, that she
I
can.
get to just stop all the time. I mean, doesn't there doesn't seem to be any like increase in motivation and wanting to walk. Now, when we go outside, she is a lot more motivated. I mean, she walks along, and there doesn't, there's much more motivation. So the round pen, I think, is one issue. So I'm really trying to figure this out because when the vet saw her today, the vet said she looks really good, and she really needs to start moving because she looks great. And we were in the round pen briefly and also outside when she watched her walk and trot. And so outside again, Sadie was like, yeah, this is fun, the fresh air, whatever. And she's walking along. The vet said she looks good. She's ready to continue with building up her strength and her stamina and all that. And in the round pen, the vet, her opinion, and this is everyone's opinion, is that Sadie simply doesn't take me seriously. She said she's a very opinionated horse, and if I don't make it extremely clear, I don't think they're telling me to beat her or anything, but that's kind of the feedback that I get, and
Yeah.
not just since her surgery, but since forever. And yeah, so and the vet also said that her pelvis is pretty locked up. And she suggested, if I wanted to do osteopathy or, definitely some work with her to loosen her pelvis. And I think she said, especially on the right side. I'm pretty sure it was the right side.
So
She
pause
said
there.
she's very,
We'll just
okay, sorry.
pause there a second
Yeah.
because horses that
Mhm.
are more forward outside on straight lines and lose forward in arenas,
Mhm.
especially small arenas, typically the
Mhm.
discomfort is related to the use of the pelvis, the lumbar, and the sacrum, or related to hindquarter engagement or disengagement. And
Okay. Yeah.
that's why, because the more they have to turn, the less forward, the less like turning is a way to slow down energy anyways. But what's difficult about
Mm-hmm.
turning for the horse is when you're in an arena or a round pen where they're constantly having to turn, it influences the hind leg placement and it sort of requires for them to be comfortable on a turn. They have to be stable through the pelvis and comfortable with both the forward backward swing of the hind legs and the joints. And I can see
Okay.
from this first video, number one, mission
Which one
accomplished.
is it?
This
Mission
is,
accomplished.
well, mission accomplished on one part. Um, Mental
Mm.
focus in motion and circling. This is the first
Okay.
video of
Got
the
it. Mm-hmm.
series. And so you had
Mm-hmm.
said she was a bit distracted, so you did some of the mental focus exercise, walking backwards. She
Mm-hmm.
lengthened her neck and she calmed right down. That's the point of the walking backwards and the mental focus exercise. So that's why I said
Mm-hmm.
mission accomplished on her mental emotional state.
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I was very pleased with that. I mean, yes, and that's been working well. When she's distracted, I do the focus on me. I do exactly that.
Yeah.
Either looking at me at a halt or walking with me. And she seems to really, I'm going to just say like it. I don't know what her feeling is about it, but she responds to it very, very well. So that part I'm very pleased about, but
Yeah. And
it's getting her
the
to.
way she's responding, like her softness and physically, this is the important part. When she feels safe, which is the point of the exercise, is shifting the nervous system use. And she's not only got calm energy and a good mental focus, she's actually lengthening her neck and slowing down. That's a physiological transition into dominance of the rest and digest nervous system. So, what you have
Mhm.
is once she's calm and not being pushed, the speed she's choosing is directly related to sort of either a bit of discomfort, but what I see is a little instability through the hindquarters. So when you
Mhm.
take her, if you put her on a straight line and she's got more mental stimulation outside of an arena, those two factors will increase the forward energy, but not necessarily improve her balance.
Okay.
When you work on circles or in the round pen, she's choosing a speed in this video where she's not stopping and you're not constantly pushing her. She sort of looks at you like she would like to halt, but she's keeping the walk. And at this really slow pace, what I look for is the use of the neck at the speed that they're choosing, because how they choose to use the neck when they're free to make that choice. Let me go back, I think. Because once she's calm, then she's only then is she going to focus on how she feels during motion. Because when we push them for forward or we get forward out of excitement, it's not really the accelerator inside the body that's working, it's more the stress hormones. And it's more of a pulling than a pushing version of forward. So if she's more forward, but her neck is shortening and she's elevating her head, then she's not building back and hindquarter strength. She's only building front end strength. If like in this
Okay.
video, as you transition from sort of the walking backwards, let me move up to where you send her on the circle again.
Mm-hmm.
Once she's on the circle, so like right here when she starts around you, she's very, very slow,
Mm-hmm.
but her neck is very, very long, right? So she chose
Mm-hmm.
the long and low posture is what remuscles the horse correctly, not how fast or slow
Okay.
she goes. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. I'm glad we're talking about it because I'm trying to synthesize, integrate, and really understand all the directions of information. And what you're saying makes sense. Yes.
And I would agree absolutely with the vet that watching her go around this circle, even though she's tracking to the left, she's a little close, like what they call a little bit cowhocked. Her hocks turn in. Her hind leg stance
Mm-hmm.
is a little bit narrow, and the forward placement of her hind legs looks stiff compared to the backwards phase of the leg movement. So, in other words, her hind legs push out behind her easier than they come up underneath her. And they look a tiny bit
Mm-hmm.
unsteady, right? So sometimes she steps
Mm-hmm.
into the midline, sometimes she's square. They kind of go towards the midline, square, towards the midline, like, and there's just a little shakiness to the hind legs. All of that we can
Mm-hmm.
see through the hind leg use and the neck tells me she's unstable or uncomfortable in the lumbar, sacrum, pelvis area. That's what it tells me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and it's very typical for one hind leg for the pelvis to be a little asymmetrical and one hind leg doing more work than the other. So
Yeah.
it's very, very common to have a horse that muscularly restricts the movement of the right hind leg and simultaneously will tend to overload the left front leg. That's a very common pattern of crookedness in
Mm-hmm.
horses.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that
And she's
means,
got that. Mm-hmm.
okay, so depending on the horse, depending on the work, you could wind up with a left front concussive lameness, or you could wind up with a right hind soft tissue issue or problem or joint, because that
Mm-hmm.
right hind is being muscularly restricted, which tells you there's too much body weight forward and left. That's why the right hind is tight. And when it's slightly asymmetrical, like the vet was describing, now you're putting some strain on base. You can think of the lumbar, sacrum, um, and pelvis act like one unit. So it could be anywhere in that vicinity. And if like the sacrum is a little off or crooked, or the lumbar spine has a little habitual twist or bend, that's going to put pressure on the SI joint and it's going to make the hind legs move asymmetrically. All of that
Mm-hmm.
we can remedy that training her physical coordination. So what we talked about last time and the part that you really got the hang of very well, very quickly is the category I call, or the concept I call, the learning frame of mind. So the whole point, and to me, that's the easy, fast part of training. The whole point of making sure that she's in the learning frame of mind, which basically just means dominant in the parasympathetic nervous system, is because only when that nervous system is dominant do horses even consider how they feel during movement. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
if they're
Absolutely.
stressed
Mm-hmm.
out, or we stress them out, they're just going to try to hurry up and do what we ask, but they're not going to seek the most comfortable way of moving.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
so your questions are really in the other realm of what I teach. And so there's going to be a lot we cover. We can go back over it. You can email me questions. But working on what I would say balance in the mind is just a mental emotional state that is a precursor to
Hmm.
being able to change the physical coordination, right? So
Hmm.
what I said you really did well in this video is you knew how to get her in the learning frame of mind, when to step back and say, hey, quit getting distracted. Let me babysit you through this. You recognized when her mental emotional state changed and you went back to lunging. Perfect, right?
Okay. Okay, good.
And
Thank
then it
you.
and
Hmm.
if I look at how she's walking in this first video, she's remaining in a calm and mostly focused state, and her actions are at the very least cooperative, even if she's not good at it. So that means
Okay.
she stays in the learning frame of mind during the walk, that you might not necessarily have to keep babysitting her back to that state with the mental focus exercise.
Okay, so you don't, I mean, in this one, she's relatively okay, but you wouldn't care if she stops every 2 steps, and I do have to kind of babysit her to get back into walking again. I mean, here at least she's taking 5 or 6 or 7 steps, but we do have sessions where it's like, I'm going to do 2 steps and then I'm going to stop and get her to ask me to go, okay.
Yeah,
Sometimes I tell you, Kirsten, it's really, it
tedious.
tries my patience. But
Hmm.
so you wouldn't worry about that. You would just be like, okay, if that's how it is right now, 2 steps and you stop, then I just ask you to go again. And
Well, here's the thing you're considering because the training evolves and changes as you go. If, because
okay,
like there's one scenario where I would tell you if she keeps doing that, then instead of asking for the walk, you could sort of overcorrect her, allow her to go through the walk, but quickly up to the trot, right? So
the
I
trot, yeah. Hmm.
so I borrow energy. If I have a horse that's stopping every 2 strides and is getting a little dull to my corrections, then I have, depending on the situation, in some cases, I may have no better
Hmm.
option than to just patiently repeat because I've got a lameness issue or a safety issue, right? There's another option where the upward transitions add energy to movement, and time at the walk and downward
Hmm.
transitions add calmness to the movement. So if I'm trying to get calm,
Uh-huh.
self-controlled energy, I can play with transitions between halt, walk, trot, and canter, depending on what the horse is throwing at me and depending on the situation.
Hmm.
So let me make this video smaller. Let me go to your channel and pull up the next video.
Hmm. And I actually, what you just said, I totally get it because I had been getting her to go to the trot. And by the time the vet came today, that's why she thought she looked really great. She was doing a beautiful trot where you could barely hear her, her foot fall. So
And
she does find
ironically,
some grace in her movement.
and have you been trotting her or just walking her before the
No,
vet
I've
got
been
there?
trotting her and she
Okay.
gets to trot. Oh, before the vet got there, yes, because she was, yeah, really restricted again today. So I had been trotting her and then she gets some energy. And when I trotted her for the vet, I was like, wow, too. I was like, wow, you are like on your, best. Yeah, it's like she thinks she thought she was at a horse show or something because her trot was really beautiful for the, the one time around the round pen that we trotted. It was very, very light. And so that's why then I get people like the vet saying she needs to be forward because they're like, see how she relaxes and her neck was long and she was very relaxed. And so she's like, you really need to get your horse forward. You can't just let her, be blocked in place like this. So that's why we're talking because I want to understand all of this information. I'm not
Right.
saying one thing is right and the other is wrong. I think there's a synthesis of information I'm trying to really understand so I can be the best, trainer for my horse or
Yes.
mom
And
for my horse, whatever you want to call it.
and it's one of those things where when we start to look at the signs that the horse gives us, we start
Mhm.
adapting to what the horse needs that training session that day. And
Okay.
so it's not a yes or no answer. It's not a right or wrong kind of thing. It's letting your horse
Mm-hmm.
show you. And this is why I teach the concepts. So the first concept is the learning frame of mind. If you don't have that, none of the movement is going to be beneficial or healthy. It's just not. She's not
Mm-hmm.
going to improve her coordination if she's in the wrong nervous system. She's just surviving the session. And that's where
Mm-hmm.
you're more prone to injury and you're more prone to dysfunctional coordinations that will make things worse. So if she's in the
Mm-hmm.
learning frame of mind, then I go, and this is a moment to moment assessment that you first learned how to assess. She's there, she's not there. If she's not there, how do I help her get there? And that you just sort of do
Mm-hmm.
as needed. Once the horse is in the learning frame of mind, everything else I see is physical. So I can't assess, like the way movement is assessed right now traditionally is the more speed and the more energy, the better. Other than
Mm-hmm.
some disciplines, the slower the better, but there's a lot of disciplines, the faster the better. And I go, that's like saying it's good to have an accelerator in your car, but not brakes. It's good to have brakes in your car, but not an accelerator. I go, nobody wants to drive that car, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what
Mm-hmm.
balance is being able to know I need to help build the accelerator a little, or I need to stabilize and, work on the brakes. Because what that beautiful movement comes from is a strong braking use of the body, which is a long, complicated explanation I'm not going to go into, but it's actually called braking, brake, just like brakes in your car. It involves muscle,
Mm-hmm.
it involves all the hard and soft tissues from the withers down the back to the tail, all the way down to the hind hooves. It's one big chain that we call either the braking mechanism or the pushing mechanism. So that's your internal
Mm-hmm.
brake and accelerator. When she is in a posture, no matter what she's doing, the posture tells you if she's sort of in the neighborhood of using herself in balance or getting better at it, or if she's only strengthening dysfunctional use of her body. And it's a kind of moment to moment
Mm-hmm.
change. And the way we learn in the beginning to look at it is simply through the choice that the horse makes and mainly the use of the neck right now to start training your eye. So as slow as she's
Mm-hmm.
going in this video, I paused it here because here's what I'm looking at. So you can kind of have more choice.
Mm-hmm.
I look at this horse with
Okay.
her ears sort of turned outward, which tells me she's analyzing internal information. She's focused on what she's
Mm-hmm.
feeling when the ears are there. Very calm energy, very,
Okay.
very cooperative. So I check the
Mm-hmm.
box on the learning frame of mind, and then I look at posture. And why the reason I paused her in this step is because when you start to see the top of her mane, like I'm sure people have told you she has a cresty neck and she needs to lose weight. No, it's muscle.
Yeah.
It's they get those cresty necks and they get very contracted like around the pole if they go around with a dropped pole, or if they're when they're shortening the neck muscles in any way, shape, or form. That's a reflection of the whole chain of soft tissue that supports the spine and the pelvis. And so I paused it
Mm-hmm.
here because a couple of times in the last video, and just here, she looks like she's about to lengthen the neck. The only reason
Mm-hmm.
horses lengthen the neck spontaneously, and this is sort of why we need some exercises to observe her choices, because we don't know what she knows, we don't know what she doesn't know. You're just looking at this super slow speed going, it can't be right. And part of what I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing at this super slow speed is just as she lengthens her neck, she halts, which again tells me she doesn't trust her own hindquarter. She's either uncomfortable or
Mm-hmm.
unstable because the way they have to keep going once they fully lengthen the neck, which you can look at the top of the mane, and when they really
Yeah.
lengthen those muscles and restore suppleness over chronic contraction, the top from the ears, the whole top of the mane becomes straight, even horses with cresty necks. And that means it's going all the way through the ligament and muscle system of the entire back and getting into the muscles that support the lumbar and sacrum and pelvis, right? So that's the
Mm-hmm.
importance
Mm-hmm.
of looking at how she chooses to use her neck without too much influence. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
it gave me the next video. I love it. So when she was walking, and we may go back to that first video, when you're hand walking her in the round pen, and when you have her up against the wall
Mm-hmm.
with whatever you're doing with the tensegrity,
Mm-hmm.
the lengthening of the
Yeah.
neck is however you're getting it done, right? Other than gadgets and leverage.
Mm-hmm.
I go, if it
Mm-hmm.
may be that with her up against the wall, it helps her stabilize her hindquarters enough that she can let go of her neck more often. It can help her
Mm-hmm.
stabilize her weight distribution left to right so that she can let go of her neck more often.
Okay.
It
Mm-hmm.
could be what you're doing with they look like what I know as trigger points or release points
Mm-hmm.
when you're doing the hands-on
Yeah, I think that's
tensegrity.
what we learned.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what they called it because it was in German, but yeah, I think it's probably trigger points because they showed us different points at which we put some pressure. And with her, you just need very, very little. I mean, some of the horses we worked with there, it's like you had to pretty much burrow into their body before you got any reaction. But with her, it's just a little touch, and she does seem to relax to that touch
Hmm. And
as I'm walking with her.
it also could be she's more stable in a hand walking exercise compared to lunging. And so she's
Okay.
maybe more forward because she's more stable through the hindquarters. She's maybe longer in her neck or more willing to move forward because you're creating half of the corridor when you're near the shoulder, and the wall is creating the
Mm-hmm.
other side of a corridor. And so she can't get too much imbalance going within that corridor. There's a wall
Mm-hmm.
here and a wall there.
Mm-hmm.
When she's on the lunge line, there's no corridor. So she might not
Mm-hmm.
organize herself as well. But like right there where she voluntarily let me back that up. Because there was a moment where her mane got pretty straight. Sorry. Um,
Mm, no worries.
I just want to see if she texted me. No, it's my border calling, so I'm just hoping nothing's wrong. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay.
so that lengthening of the neck that she's doing on the lunge line, what it's sort of showing
Mm-hmm.
you is that she stops a lot. Is you see how her whole mane straightened out when her nose was on the ground?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was trying to
Yeah.
pause because that crest disappears. You see that? All the crest, and even here where she's a little tight around the pole,
Mm-hmm.
like she's been
Yeah.
moving with a dropped
Mm-hmm.
pole, the crest straightens out and disappears. So that's why it's not always weight.
Mm-hmm.
It can be tension. It can be chronic tension that's creating that crest. And when she gets relaxed enough to really fully lengthen the neck, she loses forward because her hindquarters aren't coming in to do their job, which is what's supposed to happen with the neck release. She doesn't know that yet. She hasn't figured that out. So in,
Okay.
so that's why she loses the
Can you, Kirsten, tell
forward.
me real quick what you mean by, okay.
So in other words,
Yeah,
the
I get
body
it.
the body needs stability and mobility. The design of the body shows us
Mm-hmm.
that the midline of the body, the skull, spine, well, the spine and pelvis are inherently designed to be the most stable parts of the body. The weight distribution on a horse is meant
Mm-hmm.
to be greater through the barrel, the torso, basically, and hindquarters compared to the shoulders, neck, and head. So when they're in a dysfunctional coordination, what all people and horses do is find stability by any means necessary. And what she's done is her
Mm-hmm.
back does not look terribly unstable, but her hindquarters don't look all that stable. When she's developing a cresty neck, that is a constant sort of holding in the neck muscles because there's too much weight forward and there's too much instability on the back half. So if you cut her in half, she's been
Mm-hmm.
carrying the weight and playing the role of stabilizing from the front half, and it's meant to be the back half. Does that make sense?
Okay. Can you just, yeah, I'm not sure I understand what a crest is or a cresty neck is. What do you mean by that
Okay,
exactly? A
let me find some places on this video to pause it and show you. So here, where her mane is clipped, do you see how the mane is
Mm-hmm.
long, is higher than this part of the neck?
Yeah.
So the neck is meant to be sort of
Mm-hmm.
just a steady rainbow from the ears to the withers, right? If they're holding through the
Okay.
neck
Mm-hmm.
muscularly, you'll get this muscle development where this part of the neck, where she has the most mane, let me see if we can, that's not
Mm-hmm.
good. Um, the neck is lower by the ears and higher about C3, C4, C5. So the middle of the neck is the highest
Okay.
point of the neck, as opposed to
Okay. I
up by
see.
the ears and the pole being the highest point of the neck. And she
Mm-hmm.
looks
Mm-hmm.
Iberian. Is she uh
She is, yeah.
okay.
She's a PRE, yeah, and
Okay.
yeah, an Andalusian.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very typical of the breeds. They're very similar. They're like giant, powerful Arabians in their kind of way of moving. They're a little bit what I would consider on more the hypermobile side than the stiff side.
Yeah.
And so let's see as she comes by the camera again if I can get a little bit better angle. And so it's very
I think I know
common.
what I'm. Mhm.
Yeah, so it's really common for the Arabians and the Iberians and a lot of thoroughbreds. Well, the Iberians especially just develop these really cresty necks where the mane will even kind of flop heavily to one side. Here,
Mhm.
so way down here, it's a little harder to see, but when she starts to release the
Mhm.
shortening contractions through her neck, what you'll see, like when you're lunging her, and this is why the speed is something to me on the back burner. I'm not saying don't encourage more forward, and I'm not saying do encourage more forward. We need to look at what she's showing us in order to know what to do. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
so for her, in this posture, every single time she has spontaneously lengthened the neck. And what the lengthening of those muscles does is it moves the head forward and away from the torso. Whenever the neck muscles are in
Mhm.
a shortening contraction, the head is going to move towards the torso, but it can move up and back, high-headed horses, or the neck can curl and bring the head towards the chest with the nose behind vertical.
Yeah.
It's still, either
Mhm.
way, a muscle shortening event. So a dropped pull, the roll cur position, the over shortening of the neck muscles, whether it's down and round or head in the air. It's the same use of the muscle,
Mhm.
a shortening contraction. What that shortening contraction of the neck is doing through the interconnectedness of all the soft tissues that support the spine and pelvis is the whole spine and pelvis is under that same shortening contraction. So technically, that's
Mhm.
called concentric contraction. It's just a type of muscle contraction. When they lift the back, they use an opposite type of contraction called eccentric contraction. So I'll walk you through this with your own arm. That's the way I show it. If you
Mhm.
flex, most people
Okay.
think muscle contraction means this. So if I'm flexing my bicep, right, like a bodybuilder, that's a
Mhm.
concentric
Mhm.
contraction, right? So
Mhm.
if you then straighten your arm completely, lengthen your arm, lengthen your bicep completely, you can also still contract it. That
I
is,
can.
so if so shorten and tighten the muscle. You can also shorten and not
Mhm.
tighten the muscle. You can lengthen your
Mhm.
arm, lengthen the same bicep, and then just tighten
Mhm.
it. Tighten it
Oh
in length.
yeah.
You
Mhm.
feel that?
Mhm.
That's
Yeah, like a.
that's
Mhm.
that's eccentric
Mhm.
contraction. And so
Okay.
when they're dropping the back, and this is just a known fact you can research and double check, but when the spine on a horse is pushing downward, that is the type of muscle contraction you always get when the spine is unstable, pelvis is unstable, or the spine is moving in a downward direction. You're going to get concentric shortening contraction. What we're seeing when the neck over curls or goes straight up in the air is the end result of that muscle use that's going all the way back to the tail. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So this is why
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't frame a horse's head and necks because it's the last thing, not the first thing. So anytime here where she's voluntarily lengthening the neck, she's releasing a
Mm-hmm.
habit of chronic shortening. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So if
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
has
Mm-hmm.
an unstable pelvis, an unstable spine, or a discomfort due to asymmetry, due to God knows what, we don't know yet, doesn't matter. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's not that serious of a health issue if she is aware enough to slow herself down in order to release the discomfort, she already knows how to fix herself. Does that
Oh,
make
wow.
sense?
Okay. Mhm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the beautiful part. It costs you a lot less money when you don't need vet intervention
Thank
for the
God.
problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a
Mm-hmm.
training, it's a training issue for this mare because her recovery is done. Whatever she can figure out on her own that's in the right direction of balance and good use, then you go, great. Let's see how you can do that today. The way we know,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing to look at regarding her choice of posture is to look at the muscle use of the neck. That's just the easiest
Mm-hmm.
way for us to develop our eye. It goes much deeper than that, and it's not a perfect system, but it gets us in the ballpark of knowing is her choice to walk that slow and halt that often helpful, or is it making things worse? Is it helpful or is it
Okay.
not helpful? Right? That's the question because we don't always
Mm-hmm.
know. We can go off theory, but not, the theory doesn't fit every person medically and it doesn't fit every horse. So the way
Mm-hmm.
she shows us when she needs you to step in and help her and when she doesn't is through these spontaneous changes in her posture. We'll start with just the use of her neck regardless of the speed or the activity you happen to be doing. That's the main difference
Okay.
between how I teach and everybody else. I go, it's not the exercise that provides the balance because she can exercise in a way where her back is getting more down, her muscles are getting more short, her pelvis is getting more unstable or more uncomfortable. So it's not the exercise that teaches the movement. We're looking for the exercise where she most easily changes her posture.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
Okay.
backwards, totally backwards way of looking at things. So
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of comparing apples and walnuts to try to fit what I'm saying in with what you're hearing from the trainer and the vet. And neither one of us are completely wrong. I'm looking at it this
Mm-hmm.
way, and they're looking at it from a very different point of view.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and yes, it makes sense. And the thing is, I am drawn to your viewpoint. It does make sense to me. I mean, I'm reading your ebooks and I've been listening to your talks, and I see I see what you're describing in Sadie too. I do. I see it very well. When she lengthens her neck, when she gets um, more relaxed, even in this very untraditional way of working with her. And I think the back and forth between hand walking and lunging her also gave me a lot of information
Hmm.
about what she needs or not so, well, yeah, what she needs in order to relax a little more. And the other ways of working with her just haven't worked. I mean, I've had her for 8 years and she's never been a horse that's been full of joy. um, in movement. My
Hmm.
classical dressage trainer does get her there through through doing a lot of I don't know, what do you call those
The
movements in
long
German,
reins.
crossing over and the
Oh,
what?
the lateral movements, you mean?
The lateral movements, yeah. And he doesn't use a lot of rein or anything. It's all through lateral movements, and he also doesn't force speed or anything. He's all about, allowing her to have her own speed. And then she really does get into it. And all of a sudden, it's like riding a cloud. So, yeah. So I think with him, I'm on a good track. But yeah, I'd like to see her feel even more comfortable in her body and more, relaxed when we're lunging or um,
So, and
starting our work. But
where you're caught in your development right now too is the person you're working with who does what you're calling the classical method. It sounds like it's the
mhm.
French, Spanish
Yeah,
type of classical training.
yeah, exactly.
And
Hmm.
then the German type of classical training puts more emphasis on the forwardness of the horse. And every country with their
Hmm.
school of classical training kind of has a spotlight on one piece of the puzzle or another. And it can seem like conflicting
Hmm.
information. It's just that particular school puts the emphasis on this, and sometimes they don't see their weaknesses because they're so focused on this piece. And that's true for every classical
Yeah.
school. And so we can get lost in the
Hmm.
weeds because we're kind of getting conflicting information. And nobody's really
Yeah.
wrong, but I kept digging deeper, going, I just want to know, how does this work? And so instead of sticking with the classical systems, which I've been through, I gravitated into the mechanics, the physics, the nervous system, the different research I could do because I go, that's what we can't cheat. The body is the body. Like, no matter your
Hmm.
belief system or how famous someone is, the body is the body. I go, and it's going to guide us better than any instructor or book. So
Hmm.
her choices, like again, I paused it here because what I see is this mare shifting nervous systems is something she's already in love with and very grateful for. The fact that
Hmm.
you're not pushing her yet, that you gave it 10 sessions of tedious repetition and letting her halt, it
Oh
gave,
my God, you can't even, well, imagine
yeah,
how
I
much
know.
how much patience, yeah, self-control.
But when you start to understand and observe how she's experimenting, you gain a lot more patience because it becomes more interesting. Right now, you're not
Hmm.
noticing, you're not understanding exactly what she's doing, and so it just feels tedious and you just want more
Yeah.
speed. But when you
Hmm.
start to watch how she's choosing to use the neck, if you watch the top line, like watch the whole top of the mane and then down the back, top of the hindquarters, and sort of get a
Hmm.
feel for, oh, when she releases and lengthens the muscles, right? She um
Hmm.
she just her hind legs just kind of shut down, like she doesn't understand yet that she's
Hmm.
releasing where she's been stabilizing her body on the front end. She's just barely,
Uh-huh.
when they become just barely stable enough through the spine and pelvis that those shortening contractions can release, they're not yet
Hmm.
stable enough to rely on their back and hindquarters. There's a window in there where they're,
Hmm.
stable enough skeletally that the muscles spontaneously change, the posture spontaneously changes. But the reason she's going so slow and stopping all the time is because she goes, Well, I don't feel completely stable and powerful through my back and hindquarter. It feels a little weak and wobbly back there.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just going to stop
Oh, okay.
because that's where I can feel
Mm-hmm.
stable. And if you go back to
Okay, so
your,
she's not,
she's not
sorry.
stopping because she's lazy. She's not stopping because she's
Or a
lazy.
brat. I mean, that's what
No.
I hear a lot. She's a brat. That's the description. So she's not stopping because she's a brat. She's stopping because of exactly how eloquently you just explained it, and I understand, but I can't repeat it.
So do this with your arm again so you really get the muscular
Hmm.
component of this, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to
Hmm.
flex your bicep short as tight as you can and hold it to three, right? One,
Okay. Hmm.
2, 3. Now, holding
Hmm.
that contraction as tight as you can, shift into
Hmm.
lengthening the same muscle. That is
Okay.
wicked,
Ouch.
wicked hard,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It hurts.
Right. So
Hmm.
now come back to shortening. That's
Hmm.
exactly why she resists lifting her back, is that reason. So now
Okay.
come back to shortening and
Hmm.
hold it. And let's say you've lived here a while, that your muscle just is always kind of tight. N-
Yeah. Hmm.
Now, what you're going to do is just drop your arm. No muscle contraction.
Ah, yes, thank
Ugh,
you.
that,
Yeah.
so that
Um,
dropping of the arm is long and low
mhm.
for her.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So when
Mm-hmm.
you see, like you can see from this angle where I paused it, the
Yeah.
crest, the crest disappears for a second. She doesn't
Yeah.
keep it there, but
Mm-hmm.
she's a horse that really needs her nose in the dirt to
Mm-hmm.
release the habit of that shortening contraction all the way back to wherever she's uncomfortable in her lumbar, pelvis, or sacrum.
Okay.
Her
Okay. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, she can't be sort of long and level yet. She'll keep shortening,
Mm-hmm.
shortening, shortening. That's the habit. She can't lift her back
Okay.
yet because you feel how hard that is. If she's been a bit of a high-headed horse, or she's been framed, or she's been doing lateral work, well, not lateral work, but push to go forward. Um,
Mm-hmm.
she wouldn't have had the lameness or the pelvic issues if she had been working in the lengthened contraction. That's the way her back is
Mm-hmm.
meant to lift. But we don't
Okay.
understand that as a collective group of horse people yet. So we have lots of dropped poles, short, over curled
Mm-hmm.
necks, and we're busy, busy,
Mm-hmm.
busy doing maneuvers, not really realizing that they're in a subtle version of dropping the back and shortening the top line muscles. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
they lose the desire to go forward, or they just can't stop anymore, or they're all choppy, or they're all anxious, or they get angry and aggressive. And all of that is stemming from the chronic discomfort of being asked to work with the spine going down and the neck shortening. That is just an uncomfortable way for her to work,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's fine temporarily if
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
spooks, but it's not the posture that horses are meant to carry weight or do athletic maneuvers in. It's just not the right posture.
Mm-hmm.
And so that takes its
Mm-hmm.
toll. So where she is now coming out of her rehab and with the work you've done on the learning frame of mind, she feels safe enough with you to slow down, halt, take an internal inventory, and she keeps trying to have that muscle release going from this to just dropping her arm, right? That's what she keeps
Okay.
trying to do. But it's like as soon as she lets go of that short, tight muscle, she could be going through a nervous system process where she's like, I just don't know how to walk anymore, because that happens to people and horses. um,
Yeah.
she could be going through feeling that sort of either discomfort or instability in her own hindquarters and being very careful with how she's walking because
Mm-hmm.
she's going to try to find comfort. Once horses feel safe, they want to feel comfortable and they want to feel stable with ease, right? That's what
Mm-hmm.
all bodies want. We can count on it. So with what she's
Mm-hmm.
choosing to do, to go as slow as she's going, she's relearning how she's adjusting her own hindquarters. She's adjusting her muscle use and her back and her leg placement. But she can't do it quickly because it's more like physical therapy, which we're not used to seeing in training, right? And to
Yeah.
to take
Mm-hmm.
this horse and push her to maintain a walk that you're happy with or a trot that you're happy with would be like taking a physical therapy patient and telling them to hurry up, right? Instead
Mm-hmm.
of
Okay.
instead of getting the correct use of the body, speed can become the priority over the correct use, and that's what I want you to be careful of. If you play with walk, trot, and canter, the upward transitions, even if they don't hold the faster gaits, all you have to do is get 2 strides, and it's going to add
Mm-hmm.
energy into all the gaits, right?
Okay.
When you allow her to stop, or if you give her time at the walk, that always adds calmness. It brings the temperature down, it brings in the thoughtfulness. So if I'm lunging
Mm-hmm.
a horse that's running away and too excited, I'm not going to ask for upward transitions. I'm going to try to encourage more time at the walk. What she's doing is
Okay.
she's choosing the halt and choosing a very slow walk. So you can ask for the upward transition to trot, let her choose the speed and let her choose when to walk again. But
Okay.
you get the benefit of the transition and you get the benefit of the added energy. So the transitions
Mm-hmm.
are where, if we're not rushing them and they feel calm, you're strengthening both the brakes and the accelerator with every upward and downward transition. That's where you're going to get maximum
Mm-hmm.
benefit is just in the transition. So the more transitions, the
Okay.
better. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're
Mm-hmm.
tired of her walking that slow, if she's walking that slow without stopping, but with her neck super long, nose on the ground, you
Mm-hmm.
are basically changing the use of her hindquarter. She's healing her own hindquarter, no chiropractor needed.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, the frustrating thing is the constant stopping. I mean, I wouldn't care if she walked slow because I gathered that also from reading your information, but it's like the constant stopping that
So the constant
has really.
stopping usually indicates discomfort over instability.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something she's not comfortable with in her back and hindquarter. It's causing her not a pain issue, but
Mm-hmm.
it could lead to a pain issue. That's what stopping tells me. Be careful, right? So
Mm-hmm.
pushing her to go faster doesn't resolve that issue, and it can sometimes make it worse. But what I would
Mm-hmm.
do, where I think she stays more forward, is when she has the support of the wall with you a little closer to her.
Okay.
So like
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing here where you're lunging her, if you ask for an upward transition, it's going to cause her to increase to the next gate, but also to move out towards the wall at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
If she gives you
Mm-hmm.
2 strides, like depending on what the horse gives me, tells me the timing and what type of transitions to ask for. So in this case, if the vet has okayed it and she doesn't
Mm-hmm.
lose her mind, every time she stops and you lift the whip, you're not going to be in a hurry to get to trot, but you're going to go straight to trot without wasting time. So
Okay.
instead
Mm-hmm.
of just enough energy to get the walk, you're going to add more energy to the whip and let her go through the walk
Mm-hmm.
into trot. And
Okay.
so
Yeah.
every time she halts, She has to go all the way to trot and then come back to walk. And then if she halts again, she
Mhm.
has to go all the way back to trot through the walk and halt again. And if the trot
Mhm.
doesn't do it, if they just do two little lethargic steps of trot and then stop again, then I have to go all the way to canter,
Mhm.
let them come back through trot, back through
Mhm.
walk, wait for the next halt, and then sort of rapidly go from the halt through the walk, through the trot, back into a canter transition, and sort of then let them make their way back down. And that will add
Mhm.
energy without pushing her. You're not telling her, do it right now.
Yeah.
You're not telling her to maintain any particular gait. You're letting her figure that out. But what you're doing is
Mhm.
you're making the stopping a little more work than it's worth. And you're
Mhm.
using upward and downward transitions to help her stabilize her hindquarter so that she is more comfortable just maintaining a walk. Does that
Okay.
make sense? It
Okay.
works on a few different
Yeah,
levels.
that makes a lot of sense. And I think that will work really, really well with her too. And she doesn't go crazy when I ask her for more energy at an upward gait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most
But I
horses,
do have a question of, go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, most horses, when they realize that they are allowed to make a downward transition whenever they need to, there's just
Mm-hmm.
no anxiety. They keep the learning frame of mind in the walk, in the trot, and in the canter. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just a matter
Okay.
of if you think of it as your job is to ask for the upward transitions, her job is to find the downward transitions. If she
Mm-hmm.
finds downward transitions quickly and frequently, then you can ask for upward transitions quickly and frequently. If
Mm-hmm.
if it takes her a long time to come back to the walk from the canter, then don't ask for the canter too often. That's kind of how you know what to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. I got it. Mm-hmm. Okay. I know we've been over an hour, but just
Yeah. Sorry.
maybe a quick question, maybe no, no, it's I'm concerned for you. I'm okay. I don't want to, abuse your time. But it was the question about the nose on the ground. Now, when she stops, that's one of the things she does. She really sticks her nose in the ground and she would just like to stay there and meditate. And I've been unsure about how, should I give her that time? Or do I
You
ask
can
her to
play with
keep
it.
moving again?
You can play with
Mm-hmm.
it because there's no wrong answer. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, like we talked about sort of the concept of tensegrity and what's happening when horses
Mm-hmm.
stop and seem to be meditating.
Yeah.
Basically, what's happening in that moment is kind of an overwhelm of the nervous system because there was a change that ignited a global adjustment of the entire tensegrity system. That
Mm-hmm.
what you've and it could be just that she switched nervous systems. It could be that you just took the pressure off of her and let her choose her own forward. It could be a lot of things. But what she's showing you is that her entire system is recalibrating. And so
Okay.
you can err and be generous up front because it's new to her. If horses start to kind of take advantage of that, then
Mm-hmm.
it's just going to perpetuate and get worse. And then you go, okay, we're going to play with upward transitions all the way to canter. But right now,
Okay.
understanding that muscular change, I tend to cut them a little slack if she already has
Mm-hmm.
the muscle development in her neck shows me she's been unstable, the hindquarters have not been doing their fair share of the work, and her neck has filled in.
Mhm.
And when she stops and looks
Mhm.
sleepy and has her nose on the ground, that's what it looks like when you begin to reverse that pattern. And it's a big,
Mhm.
big deal to the nervous system. The brain basically says, go to sleep. Like it can feel overwhelming
Mhm.
because it's just a big change in the entire system. So I would be a little bit generous with her if she's stopping with her neck long. I would be
Mhm.
not generous and much quicker to step in if she's stopping with her neck short or if she's distracted. That's how I would read that,
Mhm. Okay.
right?
Okay. Okay. I'll keep an eye on that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And maybe
Okay.
since you just realized this about the neck use, you might revisit both hand walking and lunging, looking at what causes her to lengthen her neck but not stop. What encourages her to
Mhm.
figure that out, right? And you don't
Mhm.
know. You're just going to kind of try different things. And anything you try, like the first step is just that she doesn't need to halt all the time, even if the walk is slow.
Mhm.
And then once she can
Mhm.
maintain the
Okay.
walk voluntarily, then she's at a comfort
Mhm.
level where you can add some more challenge. So the first step is for her to be self-propelled at the walk with a long neck and not trying to stop all the time. Then you know
Mhm.
her
I'm
body.
just putting.
Yep, because that's
Mhm.
her tell that's her
I'm
telling you that she's comfortable enough to do more.
okay.
And that doesn't mean you can't
Okay.
play. You can play with trot, play with canter, and probably the trot work would help her because it relieves some of the work of the back muscles. But really, it's the posture.
Mhm.
The posture is what changes everything. And every horse, when you're starting, you're looking for an exercise. So you're looking at it backwards. You're not looking at the exercise to change the posture. You're trying exercises until you see where it's the easiest for her to hold a different posture.
Okay. Okay.
So it may be that the hand walking with her against the wall in this round pen is where she learns how to walk with a long neck comfortably,
Mhm.
right? It may be
Yeah.
it might
Yeah.
be on the lunge line with transitions. Don't know.
Okay. Or maybe it's a combination of both,
Yeah,
possibly.
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, because with the hand walking, just real quickly, that took some tries too, because she was getting really mouthy with it and shaking her head and making gestures towards rearing. So
Not in
she
hand,
wasn't very,
not in hand work.
yeah.
So you don't even have to do it with the bridle. You can do it with a halter and lead rope.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the hand
I had a
walking,
cavison.
nope, no cavet. Well, a cavesson, it doesn't really matter because I like
Mhm.
to work at the shoulder on a very loose rein, whether it's on a bridle or a halter, and I carry a riding whip
Mm,
with me for the forward. So basically,
right.
the purpose of hand walking that might help her is to use your body at the front legs, not the neck and head, and the wall on the other
Mhm.
side of the front legs, and create this very narrow corridor for her to walk in because she's
Mhm.
unstable
Mhm.
on circles. And so providing that corridor with this round pen wall on one side and you on the other side, that might help her figure out how to keep her neck long at the same time she's learning to stabilize the hindquarters.
Right. Yeah, and I think what I'm trying to say is it's an observation that there is something that's very uncomfortable about her because it wasn't work in hand. It's even if she just has a halter on, she's worked through it now because I guess I've convinced her that I'm not forcing her to do anything. But even with just a halter with me at her shoulder, just asking her to, walk forward or do a little bit of not shoulder in so much, but shoulder forward, just
Hmm.
anything on a very loose rein. I'm not talking about any kind of force. She would get just so uptight and just toss her head and want to rear. And I mean, it was just me gesturing towards her at just like even the gesture towards wanting some, relaxed walk or a little bit of shoulder forward, but she's better at it now. She does mouth a little bit, but then she relaxes like you see her in the video. But
Great.
it took a while to convince her that, she's not going to break or I'm not going to get mad or I don't know, something to
No,
create some trust about it. So,
I think
mm-hmm,
the physical root cause to that is what the vet described to
mm-hmm,
you that's going on with the hind legs and the pelvis. I think anything that smells like lateral bending or lateral work could really aggravate the issue she has back there.
okay.
I think it's a
Mm-hmm.
physical root cause. I would throw all lateral bending out the window for now until
For now, okay. Mhm.
just until the long and low posture is more consistent for her to maintain, walk and trot,
Mhm.
and that she isn't stopping all the time. Because the stopping all the
Okay.
time, horses that stop all the time, unless they're processing from a big change, and if they're processing, it doesn't recur. It just kind of, they do it one session and then they're kind of walking freely forward the next. But if there's a level
Mhm.
of discomfort that she's trying to work her way through, then after 10 sessions, she's still halting a lot and still hasn't found forward. That instantly
Mhm.
that alerts me to a level of discomfort that's getting serious, that could become
Mhm.
very
Mhm.
problematic. So with horses like
Mhm.
that, I throw all lateral work to the back burner because I go, the first thing we need to
Mhm.
do is straighten and stabilize the spine and pelvis, release all that chronic muscle shortening, and let them stabilize there so that they feel comfortable and stable in the walk, in the trot, before I'm going to complicate anything. And it's a slippery
Okay.
slope to try to do lateral work with a horse that basically has a chronic habitual twist. That's what she's got. So
Mhm.
she has a little
Yeah.
minute twist through the spine that is habitual, that's throwing off her back use and
Mhm.
hindquarters, which is making her stabilize on the front end. So you can kind of see how it just starts this whole cycle. And what you're doing right now, even with
Mhm.
her stopping a lot and falling asleep, is you've just started reversing the cycle, right? So
Okay.
she's kind of
Mhm.
gained momentum this way. And the reason it feels frustrating right
Mhm.
now is because not only have you stopped this, which takes a lot of effort and energy, you're now moving the other way. And at first, it's like to reverse that use of her body and change the posture, change the coordination. It hasn't gained momentum yet. It needs to stabilize a little more with that lengthened use of her neck. Even in long and low, it's still going to be better.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
and so just
Okay.
take note that if she's in the learning frame of mind and her neck is long, don't rock the boat too hard. She's
Okay.
she's doing her
That's good
best.
advice. Mm.
Yeah. And
Okay.
if you follow
Yeah.
somebody else's advice and you see, Oh, yeah, she can trot energetically, but it's at the expense of her long neck. Then be careful. That's not going to work for you
Mm-hmm.
long term. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
I should say, it's not
Mm-hmm.
going to work for her body long term.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
right now you can kind of assess everything you're choosing to do or advice you're trying out from anybody by watching, is she in the learning frame of mind, yes or no? Does she have a long neck? Yes or no? Everything else is secondary to
Mm-hmm.
that. That's how you're
Okay.
reversing the direction.
Okay, so that'll be my focus as I work with her until we meet again, because you saw that I did sign up for your um
Yes, the three
three of
lessons.
your, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna observe if she's in the learning frame of mind and
And if she's
if her
trying
neck is
to,
long.
yeah, and if she's trying, if the head's moving forward and away, she's trying to lengthen the neck. That's a very good sign. If she's sort of the head's going up, or it looks like she's pulling the neck and the head back towards her torso, that's what you want to try.
She does roll core more. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just anything that triggers that
Mm-hmm.
use of her neck is putting her back in her old habitual pattern that you're trying to change.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so that's what I'll observe, and I will play with changes of gait, and with the framing her against the wall, with between me and the wall, and see and just keep observing and see how she changes over the next couple of weeks, probably.
Yeah, just see how she
It's
responds because she looks in the video
mm-hmm.
that if you don't get impatient with her process, she wants to make this change of posture. She wants to feel
Okay.
safe and be in the learning frame of mind. You can tell she's on board with what you're doing. She
Yeah.
she has voted
Yeah.
for it. And so if
Yeah,
you're
I agree with you.
and that to me is the confirmation of my training choices. So if I choose to do follow anybody's advice, it doesn't matter. It's like if I try that with my horse and my horse gets more defensive or more high-headed, more dropped in the back, changes to a posture I know is not good, I go, okay, it's not the advice is wrong. It's inappropriate for my horse at this stage. That's how I look at it. It's not wrong. It's just not
Yeah.
appropriate for my
hmm
horse right now. So I put it on the
Yeah.
back burner
Yeah.
and then I let the horse
hmm
guide me.
And
I
it's
might, sorry, go ahead.
no, I agree with you. And it's really hard to convince others who are very convinced of their ways of that, but there's no necessity in trying to convince anybody. It's about me and my horse. And
Yeah.
I do see changes. Even with the walking outdoors, I mean, it was an issue, and it was an issue that I wanted to talk with you about. But since we've been doing this, our walks have been amazing, just beautiful. It's like she goes past things that it was I'd have like this thing like, uh-oh, there's the shack, she's not going to go past it. There's this and that, that was kind of our history. But it's just, knowing how to get her in the learning frame of mind, just thinking about the learning frame of mind and asking her to, hey, pay attention to me. And it's like there, and then she's like, okay, I can do this. I know what you're
Yes.
talking about.
That's
And
the power of it.
so
Hmm.
knock on wood that the walking, because I love taking walks with her too. I mean, I don't need to always ride her. The
Hmm.
walks are really nice too. But Kirsten, I feel like I have just robbed you of so much time.
I'm
Thank you.
yeah, let me stop the recording.